is Hayden, and I am just a guy. I'm from New Zealand, so you may find my accent a little hard to understand and a little bit of funny sounding. But today I thought I would record some of the Silmarillion by J.R.R Tolkien. I intend to read the entirety of the book, and I think I may record as I do so. I have just finished the audiobook, and the reason that I did so was so I could then read the Silmarillion more easily, because it is considered to be quite a challenging read. George R.R. Martin, J.R.R Tolkien often uses very, I don't want to say convoluted, but he uses some pretty padded text or words, and it is quite a hard read, especially in the beginning. So I thought that by listening to the audiobook first, I would be able to better sort of pronounce a lot of the words, which I think I'm still going to struggle with. I am by no means a scholar or a literary, so I am definitely going to mispronounce probably a lot of these words. I will do my best to pronounce them as they are written, but I cannot make no promises. Also, the New Zealand accent can be hard to understand because we have a tendency to speak very quickly, and we sort of don't enunciate a lot of the letters that people who are in the States, for example, do, like our R's and our A's, and sort of, for example, if you were to say heart, H-E-A-R-T, heart, we say heart, H-A-A-T. So, things like Arda in the Lord of the Rings, Arda, we would say Arda. But anyhow, I will try my best to make, to enunciate the hard, letters a little bit more effectively. Yes. Anyway, we will get started with the first part of the book, which is called The Ainulindalë, the music of the Ainur. There was Eru, the one who in Arda is called Ilúvatar, and he made first the Ainur, the holy ones. They were the offspring of his thought, and they were with him before aught else was made. And he spoke to them, propounding to them themes of music, and they sang before him, and he was glad. But for a long while they sang only each alone, or but few together, while the rest hearkened. For each comprehended only that part of the mind of Ilúvatar from which he came, and in the understanding of their brethren they grew but slowly, yet ever as they listened they came to deeper understanding, and increased in unison and harmony. And it came to pass that Ilúvatar called together all the Ainur, and declared to them a mighty theme, unfolding to them things greater and more wonderful than he had yet revealed, and the glory of its beginning and the splendour of its end amazed the Ainur, so that they bowed before Ilúvatar and were silent. Then Ilúvatar said to them, of the theme that I have declared to you, I will now that ye make in harmony together a great music, and since I have kindled with you the flame imperishable, ye shall show forth your powers in adorning this theme, each with his own thoughts and devices, if he will. But I will sit and hearken and be glad that through you great beauty has been awakened into song. Then the voices of the Ainur, like unto harps and lutes and pipes and trumpets and viols and organs and like unto countless choirs, singing with words, began to fashion the theme of Iluvatar to a great music, and a sound arose of endless interchanging melodies woven in harmony that passed beyond hearing into the depths and into the heights. And the places of the dwelling of Iluvatar were filled to overflowing, and the music and the echo of the music went out into the void, and it was not void. Never since have the Ainur made any music like to this music, though it has been said that a greater still shall be made before Iluvatar by the choirs of the Ainur and the children of Iluvatar after the end of days. But then the themes of Iluvatar shall be played aright, and take being in the moment of their utterance, for all shall then understand fully his intent in their part, and each shall know the comprehension of each, and Iluvatar shall give to their thoughts the secret fire, being well pleased. But now Iluvatar sat and hearkened, and for a great while it seemed good to him, for in the music there were no flaws. But as the theme progressed, it came into the heart of Melkor to interweave matters of his own imagining that were not in accord with the theme of Iluvatar, for he sought therein to increase the power and glory of the part assigned to himself. To Melkor among the Ainur had been given the greatest gifts of power and knowledge, and he had a share in all the gifts of his brethren. He had gone often alone into the void places, seeking the imperishable flame, for desire grew hot within him to bring into being things of his own, and it seemed to him that Iluvatar took no thought for the void, and he was impatient of its emptiness. Yet he found not the fire, for it is with Iluvatar, but being alone, he had begun to conceive thoughts of his own, unlike those of his brethren. Some of these thoughts he now wove into his music, and straightway discord arose about him, and many that sang nigh with him grew despondent, and their thought was disturbed, and their music faltered, but some began to attune their music to his rather than to the thought which they had at first. Then the discord of Melkor spread ever wider, and the melodies which had been heard before foundered in the sea of turbulent sound. But Iluvatar sat and hearkened until it seemed that about his throne there was a raging storm, as of dark waters that made war upon one another in an endless wrath that would not be assuaged. Then Iluvatar arose, and the Ainur perceived that he smiled, and he lifted up his left hand, and a new theme began amid the storm, like and yet unlike to the former theme, and it gathered power and had new beauty. But the discord of Melkor rose in uproar and contended with it, and again there was war. And again there was a war of sound more violent than before, until many of the Ainur were dismayed and sang no longer, and Melkor had the mastery. Then again Iluvatar arose, and the Ainur perceived that his countenance was stern, and he lifted up his right hand, and behold, a third theme grew amid the confusion, and it was unlike the others, for it seemed at first soft and sweet, a mere rippling of gentle sounds in the delicate melodies, but it could not be quenched, and it took to itself power and profundity, and it seemed at last that there were two musics progressing at one time before the seat of Iluvatar, and they were utterly at variance. The one was deep and wide and beautiful, but slow and blended with immeasurable sorrow, from which its beauty chiefly came. The other had now achieved a unity of its own, but it was loud and vain and endlessly repeated, and it had little harmony, but rather a clamorous unison, as of many trumpets braying upon a few notes, and it essayed to drown the other music out by its violence of its voice. But it seemed that its most triumphant notes were taken by the other, and woven into its own solemn pattern. In the midst of the strife, whereat the halls of Iluvatar shook, and a tremor ran out into the silence, yet unmoved, Iluvatar rose a third time, and his face was terrible to behold. Then he raised up both his hands, and in one chord, deeper than the abyss, higher than the firmament, piercing as the light of the eye of Iluvatar, the music ceased. Then Iluvatar spoke, and he said, "Mighty are the Ainur, and mightiest among them is Melkor, but that he may know, and all of the Ainur, that I am Iluvatar, and those things that ye have sung, I will show them forth, that ye may see what ye have done, and though Melkor shalt see that no theme may be played that hath not its uttermost source in me. Nor can any alter the music in my despite, for he that attempteth this shall prove but mine instrument in the devising of things more wonderful, which he himself hath not imagined." Then the Ainur were afraid, and they did not yet comprehend the words that were said to them. And Melkor was filled with shame, of which came secret anger. But Iluvatar rose in splendour, and he went forth from the fair regions that he had made for the Ainur, and the Ainur followed him. But when they were come into the void, Iluvatar said to them, "Behold your music," and he showed to them a vision, giving to them sight where before was only hearing. And they saw a new world made visible before them, and it was globed amid the void. And it was sustained therein, but was not of it. And as they looked and wondered, this world began to unfold its history, and it seemed to them that it lived and grew. And when the Ainur had gazed for a while, and were silent, Iluvatar said again, "Behold your music. This is your minstrelsy, and each of you shall find contained herein, amid the design that I set before you, all those things which it may seem that he himself devised or added. And though Melkor wilt discover all the secret thoughts of thy mind, and wilt perceive that they are but part of the whole and tributary to its glory." And many other things Iluvatar spoke to the Ainur at that time, and because of their memory of his words, and the knowledge that each has of the music that he himself made, the Ainur know much of what was, and is yet to come, and few things are unseen by them. Yet some things there are that they cannot see, neither alone nor taking counsel together. For to none but himself has Iluvatar revealed all that he has in store, and in every age there come forth things that are new and have no foretelling, for they do not proceed from the past. And so it was that, as this vision of the world was played before them, the Ainur saw that it contained things which they had not thought, and they saw with amazement the coming of the children of Iluvatar, and the habitation that was prepared for them. And they perceived that they themselves and the labour of their music had been busy with the preparation of this dwelling, and yet knew not that it had any purpose beyond its beauty. For the children of Iluvatar were conceived by him alone, and they came with the third theme, and were not in the theme which Iluvatar propounded at the beginning, and none of the Ainur had part in their making. Therefore, when they beheld them, the more did they love them, being things other than themselves, strange and free, wherein they saw the mind of Iluvatar reflected anew, and learned yet a little more of his wisdom, which otherwise had been hidden even from the Ainur. Now the children of Iluvatar are elves and men, the firstborn and the followers, and amid all the splendours of the world, its vast halls and spaces, and its wheeling fires, Iluvatar chose a place for their habitation in the deeps of time, in the midst of the innumerable stars. And this habitation might seem a little thing to those who consider only the majesty of the Ainur, and not their terrible sharpness, as who should take the whole field of Arda for the foundation of a pillar, and so raise it until the cone of its summit were more bitter than a needle, or who consider only the immeasurable vastness vastness of the world, which still the Ainur are shaping, and not the minute precision to which they shape all things therein. Try to say that bloody 10 times fast. Tolkien really just loves to make these sentences just as confusing as possible. It's it's a hard read, I can tell you that much. Where was I? But when the Ainur had beheld this habitation in a vision, and had seen the children of Iluvatar arise therein, then many of the mighty among them bent all their thought and their desire toward that place, and of those Melkor was chief, even as he was in the beginning the greatest of the Ainur, who took part in the music. And he feigned even to himself at first that he desired to go thither and order all things for the good of the children of Iluvatar, controlling the turmoils of the heat and the cold that had come to pass through him. But he desired rather to subdue it to his will, both elves and men, envying the gifts to which Iluvatar promised to endow them, and he wished himself to have subjects and servants, and to be called Lord, and to be the master over all other wills. I mean, for anyone who isn't aware, Melkor is basically the original bad guy of Tolkien's world, and Sauron is basically his subordinate. Sauron is a Maya, which is almost like a demigod, whereas the Ainur or the Valar are sort of a lesser gods, I suppose, compared to Iluvatar. So it kind of goes like Iluvatar, the Valar, or the Ainur, and then the Maya, in terms of power and but the other Ainur looked upon this habitation set within the vast spaces of the world, which the elves call Arda, the earth, and their hearts rejoiced in light, and their eyes beholding many colours were filled with gladness. Sorry, my dog's just going nuts because there's a cat fight outside. He absolutely hates cats. This might be a problem. Their hearts rejoiced in light, and their eyes beholding many colours were filled with the gladness, but because of the roaring of the sea they felt a great unquiet. And they observed the winds and the air, and the matters of which Arda was made, of iron and stone and silver and gold, and many substances. But of all of these water they most greatly praised. And it is said by the elder that in the water there lives yet the echo of the music of the Ainur, more than in any substance else that is in this earth. And many of the children of Iluvatar hearken still unsated to the voices of the sea, and yet know not for what they listen. Now to water had that Ainur, whom the elves called Ulmo, turned his thought, and of all most deeply was he instructed by Iluvatar and the music. But the airs and the winds Manwë most had pondered, who is the noblest of the Ainur, of the fabric of the earth, and Alwë, to whom Iluvatar had given skill and knowledge scare less than to Melkor. But the delight and pride of Alwë is in the deed of making, and in the thing made, and neither in possession nor in his own mastery. Wherefore he gives and hoards not, and is free from care, passing ever on to some new work. Alwë sounds a lot like me in terms of his ADHD, just goes from one thing to another. And Iluvatar spoke to Ulmo, and he said, Seest thou not how here in this little realm, in the deeps of time, Melkor hath made war upon thy province? He hath bethought him of bitter cold immoderate, and yet hath not destroyed the beauty of thy foundations. dried up thy desire, nor utterly quelled the music of the sea. Behold rather the height and glory of the clouds, and the ever-changing mists, and listen to the fall of the rain upon the earth. And in these clouds thou art drawn nearer to Manwë, thy friend, whom thou lovest. Then Ulmo replied, Truly, water has become now fairer than my heart imagined, and neither had my secret thought conceived and neither had my secret thought conceived the snowflake, nor in all my music what was contained the falling of the rain. I will seek Manwë, that he and I may make melodies forever to thy delight. And Manwë and Ulmo have from the beginning been allied, and in all things have served most faithfully the purpose of Ilúvatar. Alrighty, I am going to stop there because we are coming into like 20 minutes or so. I mean, that's not a long time for a read, but it's kind of hard, honestly, to read this book out loud. I actually never considered how reading out loud would be more difficult than sort of just reading to myself. Sorry, it's going to be a bit noisy. Reading aloud is a completely different kettle of fish than reading to yourself. So hopefully it didn't sound too terrible, and I was able to, effectively get the point across. But just to quickly go back over, I guess, what just happened. Ilúvatar, being the god, has created the Ainur, which are basically just lesser gods, and through their music, they created Ea, which is basically just existence, and then Arda is the world. So they are, I guess, through their music they are the creators, and obviously we got Melkor, who is a bit of an egg. He's just trying to basically be in control of all creation. So you can obviously tell what's going to happen in terms of Melkor being naughty and the rest of the Ainur. So anyhow, we're nearly through this Ainur delay, which is basically the beginning. I think I have 3.5 more pages to go, and then we get on to the what's called the Quinta Silmarillion. Oh no, the Valaquinta, which is just sort of an explanation or an account of the Valar and Maya. So it just tells you about the Valar and the Maya, about their powers, etc. So just to give you a bit of background, as I said before, the Maya are basically the demigods. So I don't know, someone else, I think it was whoever the podcast I was listening to, basically made the comparison of Percy Jackson would be the Maya. I don't know if that's, if that helps anyone, but and like Ulmo being the water god, Poseidon the demigod, so this lesser god Poseidon. But yes, so we will carry on this in part 2 of the Ainur delay, and I guess that episode will also contain some of the